There's been period of times when there's been a flow of funds and people have hoarded the cash. There's been periods of time when people haven't wanted to hoard the cash. It seems like, what's going on right now is even there's currency being printed out throughout the world, and you have this flow of funds which really become a hot potato. Nobody really wants to hold on to cash. If somebody's a seller, they wind up holding the cash. The buyer holds the asset. So we talk about the velocity of cash. It seems like the velocity of cash is moving through the financial systems and not through the economy. And it's not so much different than what you're talking about with your voucher system, just like the other gentleman said, is that basically with rates at zero, nobody wants to hold cash. But it's just not getting down to the economic system. So I'm really interested in this whole idea of what happens when people just want to hold on to cash and they don't want to be a holder of other assets.
Well, I think that's where the inflection point starts to come in. They've been holding cash at this stage in the game and not getting anything for it. One of the reports that we're working on right now, for example, pension funds, it's making a lot of them insolvent. They need higher interest rates to cover. And when the interest rates are down the way they are, the pension funds are going down. You haven't heard about it yet, but a lot of them are not. They just can't, they can't function at this level. So it has not gone down to the economic level because the banks are just greedy. That's the way it is. And the Fed has allowed them to do whatever they want to do, and nobody's really regulating them in that score. They don't regulate what's important. So you go to the bank and they're offering you 0.3% for 3 years. Ask for a car loan for 3 years, they want 4. So it's the biggest spread between the bid and the ask I've ever seen in banks. But yes, you have interest rates at 0, but you're not technically really at a voucher system, because you are just parking money, true. But at the same time, what you're looking at is that money, because the government is paying very little, it's still looking at it as a debt. And as the interest rates go up, they need to replace it. So then the problem that we have is that the velocity will go in the opposite direction so rapidly, and the interest rates will rise. And this is similar to what took place in 1925 when they were, Jesse Livermore, he said the market's going to take off because the interest rates were below what the dividends were. So eventually the capital moves. So at this point in time, capital's been parking. It's been parking even negative in German yields and in the United States, largely because it's confused. It doesn't know where to go right now. Once they make a decision which direction they're going to go, then it's going to start moving rapidly, and then you're going to start seeing the rates rise. Because then the banks are going to have to start to bid because they're going to need money. And as the money begins to flow out of the banks, then you're going to see the rates start to take off. As the rates start to take off, the debts will escalate faster. And we're at an absolute crazy impasse because with rates that's so low for the United States, Japan, Europe, Germany, just a small uptick in rates, you're creating these interest expenditures are just going to take off like a rocket ship. So it gets to be exponential, and when it flips, it's going to flip so fast. It's leveraged in the opposite direction, just as the collapse. You have to understand the way this system is. I mean, a lot of the people are talking about the Fed increased the money supply by $3 trillion. Gee, that's got to be inflationary. No, because you're not looking at the opposite side. How much of the leverage was collapsing at the same time? So we're looking at least $5 trillion was shaved off the top of all investments, and was closer probably to 7. So the Fed increasing by $3 trillion, it didn't produce anything. You still ended up with deflation. So it's only when you increase the money supply and you don't have the contraction at the same time, yes, that would be inflationary. But we had a major contraction taking place. Now this time it's in the opposite direction because interest rates are so low, you're going to have them escalating so fast. So the same thing as everything came down rapidly, now it can go up rapidly. So it's just the same thing in the opposite direction. So a quarter-point move increase in interest rates is going to start to be devastating.